Hello friend. I want to tell you about the Skoda Yeti car. What engines were installed? The Skoda Yeti debuted during the new generation of petrol engines, TSI, and diesels with common rail. So there are no simple designs that provide peace of mind above all. Almost the entire cross-section of petrol engines from the TSI family was used in the Yeti, as well as 1.6 TDI and larger 2.0 TDI diesels. After the facelift, the engines met the Euro 6 standard. The 1.2 and 1.4 petrol engines were changed from EA111 to EA211, and the 1.8 TSI unit was withdrawn. The same thing happened in the diesel range. The new EA288 family replaced the EA189 and an SCR system with AdBlue was added. The 2-liter 110 horsepower version was offered throughout the production period, and from 2010 it was used in parallel with the 105 horsepower 1.6 TSI. The two weaker 2.0 TDI versions with 140 and 170 horsepower were replaced by one with 150 horsepower. In the list below I indicate which engine versions were combined with 4x4 drive. The Skoda Yeti used a full range of manual, 5 and 6-speed, and automatic, 6 and 7-speed DSG gearboxes. Manual 5-speed gearboxes were used only with the weakest diesel engines, 1.6 TDI and 2.0 TDI 110 HP. However, in the case of the 2-liter with 4-wheel drive, a 6-speed gearbox was already used. Automatic gearboxes were offered as an option in almost all engines, except for the 160 HP 1.8 TSI variant. 7-speed DSG was combined only with the 1.2 TSI, 1.4 TSI and 1.6 TDI engines. Which engine to choose? Let's start with petrol engines, which can be very simply divided into worse, before the facelift, and better, after the facelift. The 1.2 and 1.4 engines are from the EA111 family, which struggled with many problems, including the timing chain and excessive oil consumption. Although the timing was improved later, some engines got a hard time and one should assume a potential risk that such units could be tired. After the facelift, these were already engines from the EA211 range, significantly improved and exceptionally successful. There are no worries here. Another topic is the 1.8 TSI, which does not have good reviews due to excessive oil consumption. Of course, the engine can be repaired and necessary corrections made, but it is always a risk. On the other hand, a working engine gives a great combination of very good performance and low fuel consumption. The 160 horsepower version is the most dynamic in the range before the facelift, on a par with the 170 horsepower 2.0 TDI diesel. The 150 horsepower 1.4 TSI after the facelift did not have such good dynamics, but the differences are not big anymore. So it is a good alternative, especially since it comes with 4x4 drive. With 2.0 TDI diesels it is completely the opposite. The pre-facelift engines are less troublesome due to the smaller number of ecological solutions. On the other hand, as a construction, the post-facelift ones are more refined. In terms of durability, these engines are very similar. On the one hand, it is better to buy an older diesel with a less advanced exhaust gas cleaning system, but this has its drawbacks, higher mileage and lower emission standards. So on the other hand, choosing a newer car means more opportunities to move around clean transport zones and a more refined design of the engine itself, although more complicated equipment. In fact, it does not really matter which variant you choose. In the case of the 1.6 TDI engine, we are limited to front-wheel drive only, but it is a good design, almost a twin of the larger 2.0 TDI. It burns less, about 5 L 100 kilometers, but lacks dynamics, acceleration in about 12 s to 100 kilometers per hour. What is worth emphasizing, however, is that the 2.0 TDI diesel burns slightly more, about 6 L 100 kilometers. Basically, the only very risky engine is the 1.8 TSI, although tempting in terms of performance. In my opinion, the 1.2-liter TSI makes no sense in the Skoda Yeti, too low power and not much better fuel consumption. The optimal petrol engine, before and after the facelift, is the 1.4 TSI, regardless of the power level. It is better to buy after the facelift, but pre-facelift engines can also be in good condition, and in the worst case, they can be repaired. The ideal among petrol engines, in my opinion, is the 1.4 TSI with 150 HP. In the diesel range, there is no point in considering the 1.6 TDI, which is technically good but unnecessary for anything. Better performance and no worse fuel consumption is provided by the 2.0 TDI. I recommend each variant. Petrol or diesel? If we consider the facelift 1.4 TSI and the diesel 2.0 TDI, these are comparable engines, although completely different from the point of view of operating costs. A potentially lower risk of a fault, especially an expensive fault, is provided by having the 1.4 TSI, and this is paid for by fuel consumption higher by about 100 kilometers, which gives a clear answer to the question. The best choice is the facelift 1.4 TSI. Typical faults. TSI engines with a capacity of 1.2 or 1.4 liters can have problems with turbocharging, excessive oil consumption, petrol accumulation in the oil, and premature wear of the timing drive. There is also damage to the head gasket and problems with lubrication, which can result in a more serious failure, or even the need to replace the engine. However, there are kits for repair. After the facelift, this engine does not cause any major problems. It only needs service. The 1.8 TSI engine with its oil problem can be fixed by replacing the complete set of pistons and improved rings, costs discussed in the next chapter, which eliminates its biggest problem. Diesel engines have classic failures related to so-called ecology. DPF filters or EGR valves get clogged. Newer engines have problems with the SCR system. The injection system is quite durable, but attention is drawn to the lower resistance of 1.6 TDI injectors to impurities in the fuel. Nowadays, however, even piezoelectric injectors, from Bosch, can be regenerated. Oil leaks can be seen in pre-facelift and newer 1.6 TDI engines. Another concern for Yeti owners may be the DSG gearbox. While manual gearboxes are highly durable, 7-speed automatics are not. The 6-speed ones are quite good, and properly serviced, oil change every 40,000 kilometers, they can last for over 250,000 kilometers. Unfortunately, you have to reckon with the fact that 4x4 versions put more strain on both the clutches and the gearboxes themselves, especially when combined with more powerful engine variants. The four-wheel drive itself with a Haldex clutch is durable, although it requires oil changes. Mechanically, apart from the engines and DSG gearboxes, Yeti is a very durable and generally trouble-free car. More ailments appear in the body area, corrosion of the chassis and edges of the sheet metal, a lot of chips on the paint. There are also some problems with the electrics, central locking, multimedia and xenon headlights. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know any problems with this car that I didn't mention, be sure to write about them in the comments.